All right, welcome. This is a Q&A session. Ask me anything. This is, I apologize for my voice. I've caught a cold on the way here, but I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. The last talk I just gave was about USB and serial ports, and there were some questions at the end. One guy wanted to know, do I recommend any particular USB hub adapter? And I would just recommend one that's got as much metal as possible, so it's RF shielded, and hopefully is powered separately by a power supply, maybe a 12-volt one, so you can put it on a quiet power supply in your station instead of the noisy wall wart that probably comes with the hub. And so that's what I'd recommend generally for USB hubs, is something that's powered. This is supposed to be about any question you have about waterfall displays, reverse beacon network, recording a contest, hooking up a radio, any of those things. So I think there was some other questions from the last session. Anybody? Yes, go ahead.
Tell me again where to turn off power management so when my laptop sleeps, it doesn't wake up and re-enumerate all.
Very good. Thank you for mentioning that. I keep forgetting to talk about that. USB devices will go to sleep when your laptop goes to sleep, and things can get renumbered when your PC wakes back up again. You don't want that to happen. So there is an option in Windows. I wonder if I can bring it up on this PC. If you go to the device manager, let's see if I can minimize this, and right-click on the Windows logo, and then click Device Manager. I think I missed it. Try again. Nope, it came up. So in Device Manager, can you guys see that? Not responding. Okay. USB serial bus controllers.
So not in serial ports.
It's not, I've never found, well, this thing doesn't have any ports at all. So, but if we expand serial ports, it says USB serial bus controllers. And there may not be any on this laptop. But under properties, well, there's nothing to see on this device. But if you right-click on that and go to properties, maybe it's under system devices. Let's see. These are all PCI. I don't see any USB stuff here, surprisingly. UMB bus root enumerator. I don't know what a UMB bus is. Plug and pay. Virtual serial bus enumerator. Ultima. Oh, that might have something. So let's go to properties of that. And I don't see anything about power. But some of them will have a power tab where you can say, disable power management for this device, or power saving. And it'll be enabled by default, the power saving. So you want to disable that option, because then the device won't go to sleep when your system goes to sleep. It'll keep the power going. Also, if you use the presentation mode or some mode that prevents your PC from sleeping when you're contesting, that would be a good idea. Let's see, go back to, I thought I had the PowerPoint up. Well, way over here, oh, there it is. Thanks. Wrong button. Oh, I have to function F5 on this guy, okay. Yeah, if you guys have a laptop and you have to hit another key to get to the function buttons, that can be fixed in the BIOS. And this one I had to press function F5 to get F5 because the default is brightness on F5. You don't want that, but most laptops come that way because they figure nobody knows what F5 and F1 do anymore. But you can change that setting on every laptop that you get so that the function keys work like function keys instead of the extra stuff. I recommend it for all contest laptops. Okay, I don't know how to do it on this laptop. It's different for everyone, but generally it's a BIOS setting that says, you Google it, function keys, single stroke, Dell, whatever, and it says you go into the Dell program and change it to, I want the function keys to be function keys and not brightness and other things like that. Okay. Yes, sir. Right. When you plug in a new USB sound card, Windows by default assumes that's your newest, latest, greatest device. Let me make it the default playback device for your device, for all Windows sounds and everything else. And so you don't want that device to be your default Windows sound card, the one that's plugged into your radio. You don't want dings and noise coming out. So there's a couple options you can do. You can right-click on the speaker icon and go to Open Sound Settings. And what I talked about in the class before was that you look for something called Sound Control Panel. They kind of bury it in this Windows 10 world. But way over here on the right, if I maximize, I see Sound Control Panel. That's the magic thing that gives you what you really want. That's not for Windows sounds, but right here, you see there's playback and recording devices. And right now, this thing called Decimator, whatever that is the default playback device. And under the recording tab, that little green check mark says the microphone, which looks like it's turned on in the radio. See the little VU meter moving? Hello, 1, 2, goes up and down. Well, remember you can right-click on this display and make sure these are checked. You see all the disabled and disconnected devices. Right now there's only one recording device, that microphone, and it is live. But as far as sounds goes, there's two things you can do. You can check this box that says no sounds. And it's way at the top or bottom. Where is it? In the middle? No sounds. That means prevent Windows from generating any sounds whatsoever. But the better solution is generally you're going to have a playback device. You'll have more than one playback device. One will be your new sound card that's plugged in for AFSK ready or FT8 or something. And the other one will be like the sound card built into your PC. Like this one has high definition audio device. And you just right click on that and say set as default device. And now Windows sounds go there. They always go to this default device. But your logging program, if you told it don't use the default, use this particular sound card, its sounds will go only to that sound card. Thank you for asking that question. Very good. All right. How many of you saw my talk on USB and serial devices? And how many saw the talk on using waterfall displays? Where's 1, 2, 3? Okay. So I can answer any questions you might have lingering about either one of those talks. Another thing we could talk about a little bit is the reverse beacon network, although I don't have the slides here. I had a whole talk that I presented for many years at CTU about using the reverse beacon network. What was your particular question about it? Like, how do I use it? What's it for? Or what is it? Just general question about it? Well, we have all these CW skimmers around that are copying every bit of CW that's sent all over the world. They're all feeding a central server called the reverse beacon network. Are we connected to the web on this PC? Yeah. So if we go to a browser, I'm looking for one. There's Chrome. You can go to reversebeacon.net. And reversebeacon.net will show you all of the spots that have come in, or you can telnet to certain servers, or you can use a VE7 ZC cluster node. I'm waiting for the browser to come up. It's thinking about it. Is this your laptop? Oh. I've bogged down the system. It's probably making the video and audio very jittery too. Sorry, guys on the web. Sorry about that. We now have a nice white screen. Can the web folks see the screen as well? Okay. So if we go to reversebeacon.net, where did they put, there it is. Okay. Welcome to the Reverse Beacon Network. And now we can click on Main. Now let me ask somebody in the room who's been on the air on CW already in the last week or two and called CQ at least once. What's your call? K1GU. So we can say DX spots and then we can say spot search. Now all we have to do is type in your call, K1GU as the DX station. Oh. Okay. Doesn't have to be case sensitive. And those are the first 15 spots. 15 May. We can look at 100 spots. Although sometimes you have to refresh the page a couple times. So when you called CQ last, it looks like it was on 40 meters. You were 11 dB signal to noise ratio at W7HR. I'm looking for my node, which didn't spot you. Probably because it's kind of late in the day for me to hear 40 meters. Can we page down? Where's the page down button? He's pointing northeast. Oh, you're working in Europe, huh? So those are all the stations that heard you. All the skimmers around the world that heard you. You used to be able to just plot it on a map, but Google changed their map API, so that feature doesn't work anymore, unfortunately. What was the other call sign that called CQ? I saw 2 hands go up. Oliver, were you on the air? Let's see what the West Coast has. You were signing W6NV? Okay. Again, we go DX spots, spot search. We put in W6NV, and we'll see if any skimmers heard them and where. Ta-da. My skimmer heard you. And I'm looking for DX. VE6 TF3Y heard you on 20 meters. Pretty loud, 19 dB signal to noise ratio. 0312 on 14 May. JJ2VLY also heard you. So that's pretty good. You were getting out to both JA and TF at the same time on 20 meters. And I think I can scroll down some more. That's a different time, 0542 and the day before. You were heard in HA at 0542 Zulu. Pretty good. The other thing you can do here that's kind of cool is you can use the spot analysis tool. You say DX spot analysis tool. And now I have to pick a skimmer and a couple of stations and a date. Let's pick like the 13th. And North American skimmers. We have to pick one skimmer. Oh, come on. It's thinking about it. But you can pick a skimmer like one in Europe, and it'll plot over time how your signal was heard at that skimmer. And you can plot 2 stations at the same time, and you can compare them and say, oh, I was louder than this other guy, or he was louder than me. So it's a very useful feature, and it doesn't seem to be coming up right now. Let's try to refresh. Put in a date. Let's see European skimmers. Let's pick one that has lots of spots on that date. Contest will have many more. Let's pick this DK9 IP. And then we have to page down to say what call signs do we want to compare. A little bit more down. And here's where you put in a call like W6NV and add. And then it might say 0 spots for you. But K1GU should show up if he was heard in Europe on that day. That was the call, right? K1GU? Okay. I may have picked the wrong day or the wrong skimmer. Oh, 0 spots there. Too bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Tells you what CQ zone it was in. Is that based on a registration, so it's correct, or a call sign lookup, so it's correct?
That's a good question. Is the zone that you're heard in? Yeah. Yeah, well, it doesn't have any spots on those other bands. But if we go up here to nodes, detailed list, it'll show you the grid square that the guy's reported as his skimmer is located at when he registered. But I do not recall, I believe it simply looks up the call sign to plot the zone of where you were heard. I don't think it translates this, see right here, these guys say LG89SX at the top, that's his 3B8CW's grid square. So Yeah, some of the skimmers, like mine, N6 is in California, you know where I am. Other skimmers like WZ7I, he's not in Sevenland, he's in Pennsylvania. So I encourage those skimmers to make their call WZ7I-3 or something so you know that they're in Pennsylvania. But it was easier when the map tool was up.
Reach squares are provided by the operator of the skimmer,
Correct.
but other location information is call sign.
It is. Yeah, and they might look it up in a call book too. So, yeah. The DX spots are determined from the call sign. As far as the skimmer location, they might look those up in a call book. I'm not sure. There's another question about the RBN or Waterfalls or using your computer to talk to a radio or your amplifier. Shall I do a quick poll of the room here? How many have a Elecraft radio and Icom radio, Kenwood radio, and a Yaesu radio, and a Flex radio, and a Sun SDR? No. What have I left out? AirSpy transmitter, transceiver. Anybody else got something I didn't mention? Okay. All of those radios will talk to your amplifier. How many have an Acom amplifier? Elecraft amplifier. SPE amplifier. SPE expert. RF kit. No RF kits. Alpha amplifier. Okay. Anything I left out, Kenry or something? What do you got? Power Genius. 403A Power Genius, or is it now the Expert Power Genius? I can't figure out who's selling it. Sold by Flex. So you got the Power Genius. Is it working? So you don't know if it's working. Okay. You're one of the first I've heard of who got the new one. Do you have a Power Genius? What, for alpha testing? Okay, very good. I believe the Power Genius can handle BCD kind of band data. It has a band decoder built in. Is that correct?
I just use it through the Ethernet.
Oh, use the Ethernet to change bands. Has a serial port on it also? For like monitoring the serial port of the radio? Okay. You just use Ethernet. Okay. Yes? ELAD is a transceiver, not just a receiver now. FM Duo is a transceiver, 100-watt transceiver. Okay. Does it have a USB connector on the back so you can plug in a serial port? 3 of them, okay. And so does it work like Flex where you have a smart SDR cat program that says echo the frequency out in Kenwood format? It works the same? Okay. Okay. And your amplifier? By serial or by adapter? USB, okay. Oh, an ELAD amplifier? ELAD makes a 500-watt, 1,000-watt amplifier? Oh. Okay. I didn't know that. ELAD has a 100-watt amplifier for their little radio, and they might come out with a bigger one. And it was sort of news that DX Engineering is going to be reselling a packaged RF kit as an amplifier. Solid state amplifier. Again, I apologize for the cold. Okay. Any other questions I can answer about anything you want to know? Radio related. All right. I had a cousin who teaches cooking classes, and she was asked, what's the most common question you get asked? And the answer was, will you marry me? I don't get asked that question. All right, thank you guys very much. Oh, one more question. Go ahead. Very good question. How do I personally use the reverse beacon network after the contest to analyze my results? Well, I have a crosstown rival, K6XX, and we're always trying to compare signals. So I will go to a particular node in Europe or Hawaii or JA or something, and I will go and I will plot how our signals compare to each other for the entire 24 hours at a time. And I will plot to see, all right, he opened the band first, but I was louder in the middle, and then he closed the band, stuff like that. So it's very useful. I wish I could show you an example of a plot. It's better on a contest weekend where you know a call sign was on the air. But I use it to see. I discovered my 10-meter antenna wasn't working when I looked at my signal versus his in the plots, and I was way down. And I had a high SWR, and I thought it was working, but no, it wasn't working. And I found the problem, and it was fixed. And now our signals are much closer. So that's the best way to use it after a contest. If you want to know more about the reverse beacon network and my presentation about it and how to use it and connect to it, if you go to my QRZ.com page, then all the presentations that I have, function F5, backspace, are right there. So a link to all the presentations on my QRZ.com page at the bottom that I've given at CTU in PDF format, it's there. And one of them is using the reverse beacon network. So just look up me on QRZ and you'll find a link to my presentations. Oliver.
I think a lot of the LFF users may not know that you've written a lot of scripts. You might tell them a little bit about the breadth of what you've got out on LFF scripts and scripts.
Well, thanks, Oliver. I don't know how many Windtest users there are in the room. Do you use the Windtest logging software? Oliver and me, and looks like that's about it, unfortunately. But there's no reason N1MM can't add this feature. Be able to control the band scope just by typing a command in your logging window. Like set the span of the scope to 20 kilohertz. Span 20, enter. That's what I can do on Windtest with these add-on scripts that send commands to the P3 that automatically set the bounds of the scope to where I want it, without having to fiddle with menus like you have to on Icom radios or other complex settings with the mouse. Just one command, boom, it sets everything up automatically. That's what I have for the P3 and Icom radios also. But again, you have to be using the Windtest contest logger, but all open source is there, so you can copy what commands I'm sending in radio and how my logic works, add that to dxlog.net, and or to N1MM, and they could have the same feature. Yes? Windtest does not have a smart spectrum display, but in theory, it's very technically feasible to monitor this UDP traffic that it sends around and use N2IC's waterfall band map as a separate window to show call signs in the waterfall with your SDR. Yeah, that is doable. I just haven't done it yet. Good. Question, go ahead.
It might be overkill, but you mentioned the serial box, N6TV.
Yes.
I, like you, like to have a paddle, and I use it during pilots. But did I understand you to say that would allow me to interface my paddle directly to N1MM software?
No.
Have N1MM speakers control both the
Not quite. Not quite. In Windtest, again, I've written a script. So every time I tell Windtest go faster, go slower, it synchronizes the keyer speed inside the radio by sending a command to the radio. It says, set your internal keyer speed to 35 words a minute. Now the paddles are sending at the same speed as my logger. Or some people like to set the paddle to send 2 or 3 words a minute slower than the logger because they can't send as well as the logger. You can do that with my script too. But normally, you're just, if you don't have Windtest, you're using N1MM. You can set the speed of N1MM's keying with the normal page up, page down controls in N1MM, and set the speed of the paddles just by the speed knob that's on the radio. You're plugging the paddles into the radio, not into your computer, not into N1MM. The paddles go in the radio, and there's 2 parallel keying methods. Hand sending by paddle with its speed knob on the radio, and sending by N1MM through the serial port on-off key. No wind key required.
and the speed on the keyer. So
Well, if you're using a separate external keyer, but you don't need that either, because your radio has a keyer built in. Right. Simplify everything. No wind keys, no external keyers, just one paddle in the radio, one USB cable to the radio, you're done.